Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in Tika's world. I'd like to present Laurie Patton to you. I'm really excited to tell you that Laurie is actually applying for her ring and school instructor license. And so I'm very excited. She's presenting a breed seminar today as well as a judge's school as part of the requirements for that advancement. So, to tell you a little bit more about Lori, she started in the cat fancy over 43 years ago with Birmans. She started showing in CFA and then came over to Tika about 27 years ago. She's won top honors such as Best Kitten, Best Alter, Tika's second best alter in the world, Best Household Pet Kitten in the Southeast region. She has worked with four different breeds, including Birmans. She has obtained Lifetime Achievement Awards, international wins, regional wins, Supreme Grand Champions, and nine household pets obtained their LAs, which is amazing, as well as international winners and regional winners. She was accepted into the TICA judging program in 2011. She's also been awarded Best Judge in the Southeast region many times. She's currently the Southeast Regional Director, serving her third term. She's been working with a local cat rescue group for 29 years, and she's been a member of the Caddyshack Cat Club for 32 years. That's just amazing. She's also worked on presenting CEU events for judges as well as exhibitors. And with that, I would like to turn over the presentation to Lori.
Thank you. I mean, that just sounds like I patted myself on the back, but thank you, Laura. Um, so I've done so many different, Tika breed seminars about the Birman, and I tried to do something different each time. And mainly because on my last laptop it died and I didn't get it. So this is brand new. And I tried to pick different pieces so I can, just share my love of the Burman. This was the first really purebred cat that I got. A f- my mom hates cats, so I was never allowed to have a cat. And really, I was going to a dog show and I saw a Siamese kitten sign, those little painted signs on the side of the road, and I got my first Siamese. Um, of course, it didn't look like what we have now, but that was really my first registered cat. And then I fell in love with the Burman.
Mm.
What's really important to me is I want to know, as judges, what comes to your mind first when you think of a Burman?
And so that's where we're going to ask you to go ahead and raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself and just answer the question. Anyone? Oh, Lourdes.
Roman nose.
Okay. It doesn't have to be, I mean, if you think of a Burman, just what's the first thing that pops in your head?
Pointed cats.
Blue eyes and dark chin. I'm a ragdoll breeder, so dark chin. What makes them look different?
I'm a Burman breeder and definitely dark chin.
Yeah. Yvonne Patrick, mittens.
Okay. All right.
Little,
So we all just said a whole bunch of different words, and you know what? You're all right. I mean, that's every one of those is something to do with I want to use the word essence, but everything that you said was it was a Burman. So I picked out, I thought, five just important things within our judging system that had to do with Burmans. But truthfully, if we can put any breed on these five just basic, I say they're understandings, how you can understand the judging system for the breed that you're looking at. So one, you really need breed specific knowledge. We're expected to know the standards. We're expected to apply the standards of the written standard of that perfect cat. And so for the Birman, we're very, really defined by really precise features. Like somebody said, the white gloves and the laces, those are really, truly important pieces of a Birman. If you don't have a lace, if you don't have a glove, you're not a Birman. You would be mitted, so you might be a ragdoll. A judge who is familiar with the standard, you can look right away and distinguish between just minor faults that are minor. You can see acceptable variations, and you can also see the disqualifications. I love having a ragdoll breeder here because, she said dark chin, and that is so true. A Birman should never have white on its chin. Little milk drops, for me as a Birman breeder, that's just, it's a disqualification for me. But in the ragdoll, we need to see that, a mitted ragdoll, we need to see that beautiful white chin. So it's really, when I say breed specific, that ragdoll breeder says dark chin, I say dark chin, but you still have the specific knowledge for that breed. It also, when you know breed specific knowledge, you're ensuring fairness in the ring. But most of all, as judges, I really believe that we need to preserve the integrity of the breed. And it's not just the Birman. Like I said, these 5 understandings can be applied. You just take out Birman, you take out gloves, and you can put any breed in these 5 evaluations and understandings. 2 is your consistency in evaluating the Birmans. Because they have different requirements, you do have to look at different things. You have to look at the Roman nose. You have to look at the gloves. You have to look at the laces. And those things are really what identifies this breed. So if you closed your eyes, you're not going to be able to feel, gloves and laces, but you should be able to feel that Roman nose. And if you think of any breed where you just close your eyes and judge it with your hands and feel the things that make those breeds unique, and you can feel them in our different. When you misunderstand some of the traits, then there's going to be inconsistency with your placements. And if it is a new exhibitor, it might, it might hit their confidence on what their breeding program is supposed to be. And also your knowledge of those little things that make a Birman, it ensures that all exhibitors see a consistent result across all of the shows. Like if in one show we have say a 7-month-old female and she weighs 5 pounds, and then they're up against a male that is 4 pounds or 4 months old, but he weighs, like 2 times more than her. In the standard, it does say that females are appreciably smaller, but you still have to go and look at everything. When we dig down into the standard. Does anybody have any questions on just those 2?
I haven't seen any hands raised.
Okay. So number 3 is protecting breed type and integrity. Again, in our judging system, you can take out the word Birman, you can put any breed. You're a judge, and your role extends way beyond that show, that one show. You are safeguarding against any breed's future. If we all decided that, hooded eyes on a Maine Coon was cool, we're not protecting that breed. And that's why for Birmans, it's very easy to encourage breeding away from the ideal type if the judge isn't putting up cats that are correct, that have correct gloves, that have symmetrical laces, a proper head shape. Don't forget the Roman nose. And then if you see a cat that's always being shown that, it's kind of flat, Roman nose, the breeders are going to feel, they're not going to just look at their breeding program and really try and preserve the trait or the essence of the Birman. So it's really important. We'll show different pictures of Birmans. Number 4 would be educating exhibitors, trainees, but you know what? It's also you're standing behind the podium and you're educating our public. Our public, they're like sponges. They want to know about our cats. Some breeds they've never seen. It's not like a Birman is very popular. So they might not even know what a Birman is. But for you to know the essence of the Birman with the Roman nose, the gloves, the laces, you're educating our public. And also new trainees that, are not Birman breeders. But when you go and you explain all of your decisions for that Birman standard, you're going to help exhibitors understand or breeders understand, what traits are really so important in this breed. Trainees, they're going to learn by observing you and what you look at. So the first thing I look at is the profile, but the minute you take a Birman out of the cage or any breed, you have got you've got 90% of your judging already in your hand. On the breed, especially in the Birman, where it says that they're an imposing breed. They're medium to large, heavy boning. You can see it, but you also, when you pick that cat up, that it is what is in your mind of that correct Birman. And if you help the trainee to start, if you want to do the Roman nose first, then the gloves, then the laces. But once you get your procedure that you do in order, it'll make it so much easier for you to look at the cat and also a trainee, if you have a trainee with you. Number 5 is just enhancing the credibility of Tika. I think that the breeds that we have in Tika, they're so varied, but each breed has distinctive features. So, and we're going to go back to the Birman just to highlight that need for precision. We need to consistently apply those standards and demonstrate what Tika values as far as your accuracy and your, looking at the standard, your fairness. And then again, we're going to go back to protecting the type and the integrity of the breed. If we all just pay attention to these little nuances of and the essence of each breed, we only strengthen Tika all over the world. People can live in the south, in the southeast region. They can live in the northwest region, and know that our judges are going to go ahead and actually follow the standard and look at those little essence or those traits and the type and the integrity of the breed comes through with your placement of the cats. I don't see any hands. Anything?
I don't see any hands either.
You guys are making this very easy for me.
Well, I think they're all waiting for the photos.
So I wanted to put history in here, and without France, we wouldn't have Burmans. It was, you know all of the little stories and the legends and everything, and if you put them all together, I'm sure that some of it is all true. But what really where I give all of the credit is France, because they had cats that were before the war, they saved it. They used different breeds to save the Burman. While we do have pictures, this one in the middle, she would have been, you hear about the male and female that came across on the boat. The first cat would be Sita, and this one in the middle, Poupée, would be her daughter. That would have been the first Burman daughter. so they say that these cats, came from Burma and they lived with the priests. I believe some of that. I don't know about the stealing of the cats and kidnapping, and maybe French soldiers did bring them home. But again, it was France who really saved our cats and put them and made them the cat that we have today. In these pictures, I, I wanted to show these pictures because I wanted to show you the size of Birmans. And again, I'm going to go back to our Birman standard in Tika. And our description is imposing. They're medium to large in stature with heavy boning. So even this first Birman girl, you can't really see how large her body is. I mean, it's not a small, tiny cat, but you can see her boning. Even back then, you can see her boning. The cat on the left with Arlette, I mean, you can see that is just not a little toy Bob size. It's a large. And then the one on the right, he is just my favorite cat. Yeah, he has a little milk spot there. But if you can look at that ruff, you can look at the boning, the body of him, and this goes back, to the first Burmans that came. What I really like about the pictures on the right is I was always told by my mentor that Burmans are a diamond in the rough. So back then you can see the ruff that is all around that neck. Not so much the diamond part where the mask would be. They were still defining the Burman, so those masks were more round. But as we have bred, selectively through, we are now seeing these really nice ruffs, and we see the mask. So we do see the diamond in the ruff. I was always told that the eyes, were sapphire blue. So it was all gems that I was taught. So it's a diamond in the rough. The eyes were the color of sapphire. And that is, for me, it's, one of my essence of the breed. But I did want to go back and show you in the 60s and 70s how big these cats were. They're not small. They're not supposed to be a small cat. Um, so this is Blue, Heidi Blue. I'm not sure if this cat was cross-eyed or not. Every picture that I see, it almost looks like it. I know
Mm.
she, I'm probably not because she was a grand champion in CFA, but Tai Ming was Frances Price's cattery. She was my mentor up until the day she passed away. Um, my Birman program started with the end of some of her last females of timing. So she would be in the late 60s, early 70s, Heidi Blue. And then the two cats on the bottom are 20, I believe the one on the left is a 2024 cat. And the seal, I'm gonna say that was probably 2020. It could have been 2019. He is an alter. The seal point, the one on the left, um, is a seal lynx point, and he's a whole male in that picture.
And you're saying they're descended from Heidi Blue of Taiming?
No, this is what Tai Ming was my mentor. The cat on the left it would be a great, great, great um, grandson
Mm-hmm.
of Tai Ming. The
Mm,
one on the left is not. Um,
mm.
that was after. Now, it probably does have timing in it because I got one of the last seal girls. I just don't remember. I should have put a picture on that. I apologize. Um, and again, you can almost see the diamond in the rough that I was talking about in these cats. So it started in the 70s, and this is how they were. Bellevue was a really big cattery. They were really important in bringing the cats over from France. But these pictures again show bodies, they show boning, they show the ruffs, and that's what I really want to stress. You know, Birmans are not these fragile, lightweight cats. We're supposed to be imposing.
Mm.
Here's a comparison of the features from when France started working with them to our modern day. The coats were denser. They were less refined in texture. So now we have these beautiful, you know, silky flowing, non-matting coats. Colors back then, we were really pretty much limited to seal points. There were blues. When I was in CFA, we only could show seal and blue. There was no other, you know, we didn't have lynxes, we didn't have reds. So now from 2000 to present, we've had breeders that have brought other colors in to our cats. So they're, you know, tortie, we have red, we have lynx, we have everything now. Gloves and laces, they were there, but they were very, very inconsistent. And in today's modern Burmans, we actually have the different testing, DNA testing, where we can see what cats have the gloving gene, they call it. It's not so much I don't know, like they call the random white spotting gene, but this is specifically called a specific mutation. It's the KIT gene, K-I-T. And when they did these studies on the Burmans, they did, I'm going to say it was like 176 Burman, and they actually found about 96 of the Burman that carried this gene had beautiful gloves and laces. So they can, with 2 copies, of course, that everyone is going to be, you know, they're all going to have your gloves and laces. In this gene, though, they found that other breeds, like a ragdoll, but they also found Maine Coons that this gene was attached to. So it's really neat. You know, back in the day when I first started, we did not have any testing. We kind of just, if a female had really good gloves and laces, we bred it to a male that had good gloves and laces, and we just hoped and prayed. And now, you know, for I don't know, $40, $50, you can actually not have to go through all of these breedings to find out who carries, you know, the gene and who's going to give you really nice gloves and laces.
That is interesting. I didn't know that gene was so specific.
Yes. Yep. And really what surprises me about that gene, that they have found it in Egyptian mouse. And I have never seen an Egyptian Mao with white.
Mm-mm.
So it's really interesting. Exotic short hairs, they've seen it in that. So I mean, exotics can come, you know, I don't know, but the one cat that just it blows my mind is the Egyptian Mao. I've never seen one with white. I don't know if it happens. And then
Might
of
want to
course,
might want to reach out to Denise Spracker and
yeah.
see.
When that test first came out, and it was through, you know, Leslie Lyons and stuff when she was in California. But yeah, when I read that list and it said Egyptian Mao and it said Manx, you know, those cats do come with white. Sphinx, of course,
Mhm.
Siberian comes with white, but it just the one cat, the one breed that just it really shocked me was the Mao.
Yeah. Lori, Lourdes has her hand raised.
Sure.
Go ahead,
Hello,
Lourdes.
hello. How about the KIT gene to codify about the distribution of the white and not the presence of the white?
I believe in this case, with the studying that we've done, it's a gloving gene. It is different from the random spotting gene. I don't believe it's, they have identified it to be two separate genes. So a Birman can have both, and you'll see that they're going to be mismarked. You're going to see, the chests will have white, there'll be white tail tips, and that is more of, the random spotting gene, the white gene that are in other breeds. But the gloving gene is specific to the Birman, and of course it's found in the ragdoll only because if the ragdoll was bred with Burmans, I'm sure that those genes are passed on, and that's why one gene would have it. That
Lori, if
sure.
have there ever been like an oops litter where a Berman was accidentally bred to a cat that didn't have any white at all? And what was the result? Did you see gloves and laces on the offspring or not?
Um, I have never had an oops breeding like that. I had an oops breeding between a brown. Well, I don't know who the father was because I had two 6-month-old Maine Coon boys. One was blue and white, the other one was brown and white. And she had a blue and white kitten and a brown and white kitten. So a pointed cat isn't going to come out,
Mm-hmm.
with the blue eyes out of that litter. Now, if I bred those two back to a Burman, I would probably, that would be a pointed cat. Like,
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was essentially that the kit was a dominant gene or if it was acting more as a recessive where you would have to breed it to another cat that has the kit gene in order to see those gloves and laces.
in the testing, the inheritance is recessive.
Okay.
Yep, that the testing told us that it was recessive.
Okay.
So we can have cats, the alleles would just be capital N. If cats with both of the capital N's, we're not going to have any gloving pattern. They can't transmit it.
Mm.
The GG, which the capital G allele, that means that they will have the gloving pattern and they will transmit it. So it is recessive. The percentage also of that allele, the NG, capital N, capital G, those will be 50% of their offspring. And matings, if both of your cats are at 25%, if they're just carriers, then 25% of your kittens will have the gloving pattern. So it's really, breed specific, and
Mhm.
it really helps breeders. You can get your cats tested and know if they're NG or if they're NN, or well, if they're NN, they're not going to have any white, but if they're GG, you're going to know that they're going to have the pattern, and go ahead and present it to their offspring.
Sounds like this genetic testing is just what breeders need.
Yeah, I bred a lot of litters that came out with, 3 toes were white or 1 toe was white. And this would, if I had it back then,
Mm-hmm.
it would really, have helped. I
Mm-hmm.
would have known what,
100%.
yeah.
Um,
So go ahead.
Alex has her hand raised. Alex, go ahead. Alex, did you have a question? You had your hand raised? Hmm, guess
Oh,
not.
sorry, I couldn't see a mute button.
Mm,
I just wanted to add that I was part of the. So we all know Berman originally wasn't used in creating ragdolls because there was no Bermans in California in 1960s. At the time, we were told in our educational seminars, but Bermans were quite widely used to bring chocolates and lilacs into ragdoll program. And I worked with those cats, and I wanted to add that in 3 generations, you do not see manifesting of that gloving gene at all. Like we would get periodically dark chin, but we get them anyways. So the sometimes people say, "Oh, this is not a mitt. This is a glove because it has a little lace in the back." Like on the back of the front leg, you see this white line going up. Well, that's just how mixed up ragdoll gene is, I believe, because I worked with CON and first generation SBT ragdolls in chocolate and lilac program, and never in my breed, and I had quite a bit. Never did I have to deal with gloving gene or Birman gene. And even though the cats I was working with were ragdoll slash Birman. So just wanted to add that in my experience, it should be recessive because it goes away.
Correct. Correct. That's yeah. That's when you breed NG, carriers, you're only going to get 50% of your offspring, but if you have the two carriers, only 25% of your kittens. So if you went and took the 25% of the kittens that did not have white, then you would have, it wouldn't have kept going. It is recessive. But if you did have another ragdoll out there that was one of the carriers, and it just so happened, you would get the gloving gene if it is the gloving gene. Don't forget, we didn't have this gloving gene technology back then. It was just considered the white spotting gene. So
I
you
know.
could even
I'm talking about before the genetic testing, because when I worked on it, we didn't have genetic test for gloving gene. So I cannot say that it was confirmed by testing, but I say from experience,
sure.
it goes away in 3 generations. You barely see it.
Another thing is I do have pedigrees that go back before that, and there was a Seal Point Birman that was used in California. But again, I think the ragdoll, history is just as mysterious as the Birman history. And we just so now we do have that testing, but our Birmans that are born now, they're really symmetrical. And when you do get your breeding program, really, all of your kittens, you can see them right away, and they should be. We have all of these tools now that we can use. So when we do put two cats together, for $100, you can test both cats, and you're going to know immediately if you're going to put these cats together or not. It's just more, I think, conscientious breeding. Temperaments. Back then they were docile, quiet. Oh, I skipped type. This is closer to traditional long hair. And when we look back at that, um, the first cats, they were like semi-long. Some cats were just huge in coat. Some of the males were just absolutely flowing in coat. But again, that coat was dense and not like it is now. Now we are more balanced, and I think our conformation, there isn't any one thing that stands out in a Burman. They're very well balanced overall. Conformation is all the same. Their temperaments, mine are still quiet, docile. I always say that my own personal cats are dumber than a box of rocks, and I like them like that. Um, Mine are very interactive. They're Velcro cats. They're very social. I don't have Burmans that are vocal. So for being a pointed cat with all that Siamese in the background, my Burman are not vocal, but they are social. So the breeding focus, before the French, they were just preserving our breed. Thank goodness for them, because they did. They saved the Burman. Now, with all of the testing, the genetic testing we are producing refinement of our markings, like I just talked about in our kit gene, and also health. When I first came into Burman, it was via, CFA, and we had a lot of HCM issues. There was one cat, his name was Pork Chop. And the way we found what was going on, no one really knew back then, but Pork Chop was such a really, used cat. He was a very winning cat. He was a beautiful cat. And then he dropped dead. So we all looked at our pedigrees and we went back, and sure enough, Pork Chop probably was the HCM guy. Anything else?
No, no hands raised. I'm
Okay.
sad about pork chop.
Yeah, he was a beautiful cat though. So here's just a little bit of pictures for our breed standard. I thought that pictures will absolutely help you more than me just reading off. But the most important thing is balance. That's, for all of our breeds, we have to be balanced unless the standard specifically says unbalanced. Medium in size, gentle expression. We don't want to have these cats that have hooded eyes and just look like they woke up. Your head is broad, rounded, not round. We do have a medium length of nose, and the nose is Roman. So I want you to picture holding a tennis ball in your hand and just gently squeeze that tennis ball. And you're going to get the little flat spot on the top, and that is the shape of the Birman head. Not squash it, but just a gentle squeeze. And that is what you're going to look for. You're going to have that flat spot on the top of the head. It's not in front of the eyes. A lot of people are in front of the ears, behind the eyes. That's really not where the transition is going to be. It's going to be right on the forehead. If you run your hand from the tip of the nose up to the forehead, you're going to feel that flat spot. And Harley always said where the brains used to be, and yeah, I believe it. Ears, they are medium. They're not witch's ears, a witch's hat. They're wide at the base and they're an extension of the head. So they're going to be almost on top as much as on the side of the head. And you can see that seal point. I specifically picked him. I really like that ear set. You can see that squished tennis ball shape to his head. He does have a really good chin, but because he's got that great big ruff, you don't necessarily see his chin and muzzle just blend in. When you look at the eyes, they are almost round. They're deep blue and they have a sweet expression. The cat right beneath him, those are beautiful, deep, dark eyes. You can see the mascara markings around. He was probably, that is a male, and he was probably about 6 months old. And that was my last litter. That was an M litter. And then you look at their body. So we'll go over to the far left. Medium to large. They're muscular with a semi-long coat. You can see that that cat does have a silky coat. You can see it in the wind. You can also see the body. It's not all fluff. You can see the boning. So you're looking, you can't tell with muscular, but you can pretty much see that it's just not a small cat. On the right, we can see the different variations of our gloves and our laces. When you go to check and you pick up a cat, you can stretch them out and you can hold the front lower to see where the front of the glove is, so you can see for any runners. On that drawing, it looks like you're going to bend the foot back. We used to have a judge that just bent our cat's feet back like that, and it's just so unnecessary. I cringed every single time they did it. If you stretch out the cat and just look to the side, you can see the gloves. You can see the laces if the tail's not in the way. Sometimes the tail goes right through. But if you think about a cat that is sitting on the floor and they're sitting on their hocks, everywhere where they touch that hard surface, that's where your white is going to be. It's not going to be any higher. It's not going to be any lower. They say inverted V 3/4 of the way. on the kitten on the far right, you can exactly see, of course it was a kitten and it's blue, so it's kind of hard to see, but you can see that that kitten does have gloves and laces that are symmetrical. The gloves is the one in the middle. That is also the kitten's front. So I took pictures front, back. Any questions on that?
No hands are raised. I have a question for you though.
Sure.
Um, Sometimes the lighting in the show hall is not ideal. And sometimes you have a kitten and the color is just coming in. It can be kind of hard to check the gloves and laces, especially if it's, say, like a cream point. Do you have any tips for us on how best to check the demarcation of gloves and laces in poor lighting against immature color?
So what I do is I take them out of the light. So if you do have a light on your table, just put your hand there so it makes like a shadow,
Hmm.
because the minute your hand goes over to make a shadow, you can, I don't know why, but it shows where the glove or lace is, or sometimes the color. If it's a 4-month-old cream kitten, no, that's going to be really difficult. But don't rely on the fake lighting. Try and put your hand, over the kitten, or if you put the cat on the table and they can use their body as a shadow, you might be able to see it that way.
Oh, thanks. That's very helpful.
Yeah, the fake lighting is really bad because it bleaches out the color.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Great.
All right. So because I'm a Birman breeder, I prioritize I want a sweet expression. I want balance mostly. I love deep blue eyes. You gotta have a Roman nose. You have to have correct gloves and laces. Your coat texture and length. It really needs to be there. We have a silky rabbit fur double coat. We don't have an undercoat. And if people are presenting you with Burmans that are big and rough, like in the 60s and 70s, that's not what we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have that proper texture. We don't want Burmans that are naked either. I mean, I know girls, cycle, and I know boys, their testosterone, but the coat, it is silky with no undercoat. So please prioritize that when you pick up and feel. So when handling a Burman, when you pick a Burman up, um, I pick it up with one hand, and if you would picture a bowling ball in your hand with legs hanging down, it should stay level. It shouldn't tip to the front. It shouldn't tip to the back. So if it tips to the back, the cat might be a little bit too long. But if you picture a bowling ball in your hand and the cat doesn't tip one way or the other, that is balance. Now, some of our males are big, so what I mean about supportive handling is when you do pick them up and it's a large cat, you are going to at least, you can cradle the back feet like you would do a Maine Coon. It just depends on the cat. If it's a kitten, you can, pick it up and you should have that perfect balance. These pictures are, the two on the left are just Burman that do not have chins. They do have slight Roman noses, but not like it should be. They're kind of just, it's not a Roman nose, it's just a little bump there. But you can see in the second picture, there's no chin there. It just drops completely off. That is not what we want in a Burman. A Burman has to have, um, when you look at the chin, it has to have good depth. And it says a perpendicular line with the upper lip. Those two cats on the left, neither one of them, in my opinion, have good chins or Roman noses. So the two pictures on the right are actually the same cat. That is born maybe like 1 or 2 days old. And the next one is 8-month-old. It is a male. But you can see that that profile only got better. The chin stayed the same. When you look at the picture on the right, you can see where the Roman nose, you have a different, in the profile, you can see where the forehead slopes back, and you can actually see that little flat spot. So it's just above the eye ridge. There, you can see the change of direction between the forehead and the nose, and that's where your Roman nose comes in. The Roman nose doesn't just hang at the end. It's part of that muzzle, and you need that length of muzzle in order to have that Roman nose. Otherwise, it'll look like a Himalayan. You need that chin, and it does in the standard. It does say that the chin has good depth. Any questions on that?
I don't see any hands raised, but I certainly can recall every single Burman I would handle would have a weak chin.
Yeah.
And I was starting to think it was endemic.
Well, that was my big thing. So, I didn't really care about the color, the eye color, because truthfully, eye color you can change in a generation. You cannot change the head shape, the chin, the nose in a generation. That takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Lots of work.
Alex has her hand raised.
Sure.
Thank you. I haven't seen too many Burmans in North America, but I did see them like in 20s in one show in some regions of Australia. So I believe I know I handle quite a bit to ask this question. So based on your picture on the right-hand side that you like, and I really like it too. So can you just clarify for me, in a profile, you believe that if I take my hand and slide down from the top of the head down, I should kind of feel, I wouldn't call it a stop, but a place where the Roman nose begins. Am I right
Yes.
to say it?
Can you see my pointer?
Yeah, yeah.
That is, yes.
That spot.
Yep, because this, you can see the Roman nose comes up.
Yes.
And then now you see the in the profile, the change. And if you slope back, and Larry Johnson took this picture, so he did a great job. But this is where that flat spot would be. So you come up, you're with your finger, you would come up the nose, you'd come up the forehead, and right here is the eye ridge, and right there is where you're going to feel that flat spot. It's not.
My problem is where, like, on the left two pictures, and they remind me, by the way, of a bad ragdolls more than Birman, haha, because that's what we see in some of the ragdoll lines. You get this soft bump, but the soft bump isn't a Roman nose because it doesn't kind of stop and starts into the slope of the towards the eyes, right? And in your picture, you clearly show that it actually a very nice picture that it shows the reflection that Roman nose has one end at the tip of the nose and then another end at the base of the where the profile goes up, right?
Correct. Yep. Perfect. And you can see it now. If you look at this cat, here's the start, and we do go up and down. It does have a Roman nose.
Yeah.
And then here goes the change of direction with the flat spot. This picture mainly shows that chin.
No chin, yeah. But we see that in ragdolls too. Like that.
Yes.
I've seen it. And it's funny because in Australia, I've seen a lot of ragdolls looking like, because they're not as popular, they look like Burmans. And I even picked one and I said, that is a Burman. And she said to me, oh, I bred Burmans and then I switched and this is Burman in my life, right? So I could tell and even though the bump that Roman nose doesn't go away, so they can breed out the pattern, but the actual look is still there, even in
Correct.
5 generations.
It's very strong. You're
It's
right.
very strong. It's very strong. Thank you so much for your explanation. Appreciate it.
Sure. Even in this picture, which this, I mean, this is a better chin, but you can see a really nice low nostril on this cat, and you can see there is a lift. And then you see where you're going to go up from the forehead. This is, I probably wouldn't mind this cat because it does look like it's a little bit too much. It's not a flowing profile, but it also could be his hair. So it could be the picture. But I really believe that he's got a really nice flat spot up here. But again, this chin just falls backwards. It falls backwards, in my opinion, how a Siberian chin might fall backwards. And we're not supposed to. We're supposed to be perpendicular. Is that good?
Yeah.
So here's some things that I have seen. On the left, that's a hawk spot. We don't have them in Birman. You're not allowed to do that. The middle one, this is a very recent cat that it's got a white chin. Please don't put these cats up. If you think it's a white chin, it's a white chin. And that is just, just don't. You're taking away the essence of the Birman and you're diluting it, to be a question. Oh, is that a ragdoll? Is it a spot? We don't know. The red X is, okay, so this cat has a very big chin spot. You can see the unevenness of the gloves right away. So when you see that, when you see gloves that look like that, immediately look all over because that is a question on other places. So probably doesn't have laces or they're uneven, or in this cat's case, he's got a big old white spot on his chin. When you look on the bottom left, you can see the white chin. You can see the white. It's actually white. It's not our, gold covered coat. It's a big white spot. On the lace on the bottom left, you can see that runner. So if this cat has too high gloves in the front, they probably have hocks that go all the way up and over. And again, that's not correct. So I hear a lot of judges, and it just kills me. They say Roman profile. Burmans do not have a Roman profile. We have a Roman nose. The top middle, that is a Roman profile. So the egg shape, the Cornish, that is a Roman profile. That is not what Burmans have. We have Roman noses. The middle picture, you can see that there isn't any, there's no bump there. That is completely straight. That is a Burman. It is not a ragdoll. But we see that an awful lot too. And when you look, sorry about my lines, they're kind of, I wanted to show you the width and the depth of the chin. There's just no chin there. It falls back and you can see that space. Now this really bothers me an awful lot. The last picture in the middle. This is, in my opinion, what breeders are now doing. They're bringing in Himalayans or Persians. I don't know what they're doing, but they're really messing with these heads. We don't have, that is a completely rounded head. Yes, the cat has a Roman nose, but it doesn't have a muzzle. So this is just getting smushed and shorter, and this is what happens when they're bringing in the other breeds, and it's happening an awful lot. On the Birman, on the Facebook groups, I have to say, you know, I don't even say anymore because sometimes I don't even know if it's a Birman. I mean, they're saying it is, but it's like, no, that's not a Birman. But you will see a lot of that. The upper right, this is, you know, high gloves. That is a really high glove. There's probably a runner, and you look at the laces, and they probably have laces that go up and over the hock, and you do not want that. Way back when I first started in CFA, we couldn't even have colored paw pads. All of our paw pads had to be pink. I mean, you know, you would have a litter of 5 kittens and maybe one might be show marked, and you know, maybe one might have all pink paw pads. That's how strict it was back then. So the middle cat, you know, this is, to me, it's pointed. Our head is supposed to be strong, broad, and rounded. It is slightly longer than wide in profile, and our cheeks are full. That middle, beautiful eye color. Oh, wow, beautiful eye color, but you can see there's a pinchiness. It's not oval, it's not rounded, it's kind of triangular, it's a wedge. Bottom right, we're starting to see these hooded eyes coming. I don't know where they're coming from, but our eyes are medium to large. They're moderately rounded. They are set far apart, and you know, this is what's happening. So none of these cats really fit. Does anybody have any questions on these patterns?
Feel free to raise your hands if you have any questions. I think it's super helpful for us to have these photos rather, as you said, not just talking about it, but visualizing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like the middle right, yes, it's got beautiful eye color. Would I keep that cat in my breeding program? No. Eye
Hmm.
color is just one generation, and I I'd have to see the rest of the cat, but I think that the ears are not wide enough. They look, I don't have the complete head picture, but it almost looks like they're too narrow. Um, you know, so it'd be pointy like that witch's hat that I was talking about.
Mm.
So these are penalize and withhold. What I really just want to emphasize is that Burmans have a Roman nose, not a Roman profile.
Hmm.
So we've shown you the difference there. So this is every single cat here you would reward. The cat on the left, hopefully this is helpful with the pictures. You can see that the chin is perpendicular to the nose. You can see the nose. You can see the length of the muzzle. And you can see the gradual profile come up to the flat spot. Now the two pictures on the top, that's not the same cat. It's actually father and son. And I showed you the one in the middle, that's the one we showed before. So the one on the left is his son. And you can see the same chin, length of muzzle, and that beautiful profile that comes up. On the bottom left, this is just a little kitten. He was just 4 months old. But you can look at that 4-month-old kitten. You can see his body. You can see his coat, his boning, his eye color. You can see his chin. You can actually see the width of his muzzle. The muzzle is medium in length, but it has to be wide enough to prevent that pinched look like we saw earlier. So you can see in these cats, they all have that the wide muzzle, not that pinchy look. Bottom middle, that's an 8-month-old male. In this picture, you can see that ruff. Look at his boning. You can also see when I was talking about the diamond in the ruff, you see his mask. It comes from the top and it includes that chin. We need to have that diamond. We need to have that mask defined. The picture on the top right, that is a female. She's really symmetric. I had a few torties in my breeding program, but um I thought I was ruining the stripes and the reds. I thought it was ruining our masks. And so as a breeder, I was doing all that. And then I went back. I had a lot of lynx points. I went back and I really tried to work with solids. And I had the most luck with blues. So that's why you see the blues. She's beautiful. Her eyes, you know, there's wide set. It is a female. Nice roundness. Remember that our ears, they're almost as wide as they are tall. I really like her on the top. Sometimes our females tend not to have that width at the bottom. And of course they're rounded. It should be open at the base, but our tips, they're rounded furnishings, again, as much on top as the side. The one in the middle, I just love this expression. This is actually a female. She's got beautiful eyes. You can see the width between the eyes, like the standard. Um, you know, the eyes are fairly wide apart and blue. Her eyes are blue. You can again see that muzzle where there's not a pinched appearance like the other cat. And then the bottom right, again, this cat, uh, when he supremed, I retired him. He just didn't grow. He was like kitten size up until he was like 8 or 9 months old. But he was the last of my the M year. His name was Magic Mike. But even in that side profile, you can see his chin, you can see the depth of chin, you can see the eye shape. So all of these cats are not mine, but this is what you reward in the Birman. Any
That's great.
questions?
I'm not seeing any. Feel free to raise your
Okay.
hands, everyone, if you have any questions or
So
comments.
here are just different colors and patterns. Seal, seal links. What's really interesting about the middle picture, I love this picture because you see it could the lynx point on that left kitten. See how inside the ear you see that white line come up and around, whereas in the right hand kitten there's no white there. So you know one is a solid, one is lynx point. So again, in a kitten that you're showing and the color might not be coming in so great, look at the inside of that ear and you can tell in that middle picture, one is lynx point and the other in solid. Again, in these cats, look at the boning, look at the bodies, look at the patterns. You can see the diamond in the ruff where their masks are. So legacy, everyone, you know, whatever your legacy is that you want to talk about, you know, we saved them from, you know, Burma if they were temple cats. There's so many legacies, there's so many legends. It's just, it's wonderful. But the cat has pretty much remained the same. So any story that you want to tell about where the cat's feet touched is, you know, pure white. Burmans are not white cats. Their feet are white. Their gloves and laces are white, but they are not white cats. Always remember that too. And my thanks, it goes to Frances. She was absolutely wonderful. And like I said here, she forgot more knowledge than I am ever going to know. She was absolutely, you know, one of the Mrs. Bermans that brought them over and continued. So thank you for, oops.
I think if you hit the back arrow, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, that was it. That was my last.
I wanted to
Oh,
actually go back to one of your slides,
sure.
the one where you talk about rewarding all of them, reward all.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this before the seminar started. The Berman standard, I think, is really challenging, especially for a judge, because we have 10 points on pattern, which includes the gloves and laces, and we have 10 points on color. But everything else in the standard is 5 points, like 5 points for head shape, 5 points
Yeah,
for ears. And so I think it's super helpful for us to get the perspective of breeders in terms of what are some key attributes. And you listed like I think five of them towards the beginning. I wondered if you could just dive into that just a little bit more,
sure.
help guide
Um,
us. Like if all things are equal, which they never are, go for this over that.
yeah, what really kills me is I think the Birman standard is it's the it is the poorest written standard of all of our Tika cats. I think the Siamese standard is excellent because, they tell you the different points. So in the Birman, the head, yes, it's worth 35 points, but everything else is 5. 5 for the shape, 5 for the ears, 5 for the eyes, 5 for the chin, 5 for the muzzle, 5 for the nose, and 5 for the profile. Well, you guys earlier, when I said, what is the thing? It's Roman nose, and it's only worth 5 points like everything else. And I know that overseas they tend not to have the Roman nose, and I think that's why the standard is kind of so broad. But I mean, as a Burman breeder, a Roman nose is really important. And for it just to be 55555. Torso is worth 25 points, but torso, legs, feet, boning, and muscular, that's all 5 points. And yet
Yeah.
you say that the cat is imposing, heavy boning. It just doesn't tell me that.
Yeah.
And then the most thing I mean, completely drives me crazy. When you go to color and pattern, the length is 5, the texture is 5. But then it says pattern is 10. So that's your gloves and laces. And color is 10. Okay, so when I look at this, I say that the breeders are telling me that pattern and color are the most important. But when I look over at the standard and where they talk about the color and the pattern, there's one sentence in there that says, even though gloves and laces are important aspects of the Birman, they are secondary to conformation. So, how can it be secondary when pattern and color are 10 and everything else is 5? It's
Yeah.
very contradictory.
It's a lot of qualifiers there.
Yes.
I'm wondering, I'm wondering if like some improvements to the standard could maybe the nose and the profile could be combined for 10 points or even potentially get some more points, like maybe it's 7 or 8 points each for the nose and the profile, just to again help judges understand what they should be rewarding, not just in the descriptive part, but also in the point assignment.
Oh, I totally agree. I'm not part of the Birman committee any longer, and I did when I was part of the committee. We did try to revamp it, and it just didn't happen. But
Okay.
I mean, as a breeder, if everything is worth 5 points, then what's important? If I gave you those, if I took away Berman, and I don't know if I can share, or if any of you can bring up the Berman standard. I don't have it
I
brought
have
up.
it on my phone, so I can read whatever you're looking for. I can't
Oh,
project.
I was just going to show it. Like if you go and bring it up and you just, go ahead and take
Mhm.
out the word Berman and you
Yeah.
just look at the colors, can you
Mhm.
tell me what breed it is? And you know what? You can't. And that's really, as a Berman breeder, I want judges to know about the Roman nose. I want judges to know, about the flat spot, the
Mhm.
gloves, the laces. But truthfully, when you look at just the points, you can't tell me, what it is. And to me, if you're not a Burman breeder and we're trying to educate people, judges, trainees, um, they really need to just look at that point schedule, and the breeders need to tell you that this is really important. And when you look at these numbers, it's 555, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's 20 points total for pattern and color, and everything else is 5 points.
Actually, it's 30 because you've got length and texture because it's,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
just looking at the individual pattern and the individual color are 10
yeah,
each. So, yeah.
right. So color and pattern, but then when you go over to look under pattern, that's when they contradict and say it's secondary to conformation. So if gloves and laces are secondary to conformation, what kind of cat is it? If we don't care about gloves and laces, you know?
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting discussion. We do have a couple of trainees on the call. Hi, Mariella. Hi, Adolfo. But I was going to say, we teach them to judge to the standard, but at the same time, these breed seminars are so helpful because they give us the insights of what else is important, why is it important, what was the history. And also, I love to hear about what's hard to breed for. So when you tell me eye color is something you can fix in one generation,
Yep.
that completely jives with my own experience breeding a different breed about things that were hard to manage. So, for example, Maine Coons and profiles, you get a bump on the nose, a hard bump, you're gonna be working with that for 3 generations minimum to before you can get rid of it.
Correct.
I've
And
got I've
go ahead.
got Veronica with her hand raised. Go ahead,
Sure.
Veronica.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Ah, brilliant. Just two things. I completely agree about the Birman standard not being very well written, particularly in the points. But the whole phrase about the gloves and the markings, the color confirmation being secondary, or is the second. It's not the most important thing as long as the whole confirmation is correct. Um, I agree with you saying, that the gloves and the laces and the color is very important, the color markings. If you get a fantastic cat in all respects and it has uneven um, laces, for example, where would you place that cat? So for me, it would be, it would depend how uneven, but that's how I interpret that line in that standard. So for me, the markings have to be correct, but if they are slightly uneven, they're not perfectly balanced, perfectly in line, but everything else is fantastic, I probably will not penalize that cat for that. Would you agree or not?
It, based on the standard, no, I would put it out because it says that although the gloves and laces are really important and it does
Mm,
have, 10 points on it.
mm,
So if you go ahead and say the pattern is bad, so I'm going to give away 5 points for pattern, but
mm.
then in the same aspect, it says they're secondary to conformation. So either decision I is correct. As a breeder,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
um, yeah, as a breeder, oh my goodness, yes. If it's got, gloves, laces, body, boning, eye color,
Good.
of course. As a breeder,
Okay.
yes.
Right.
But as a judge, either decision is correct according to the standard.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. And then just one thing I've seen, and it's been really wonderful to see these the pictures of the muzzles that you've added, because what I'm seeing here in Britain, I'm seeing a lot of very fine muzzles, and it just completely unbalances the head. It changes the look completely. It almost looks like the cat has a little beak.
Okay.
The whole head becomes unbalanced, and it's often because the chin is obviously too narrow or too shallow, but also the muzzle is so fine, and the whole head then becomes unbalanced. Is that something that you are seeing in the US?
Um, Not so much.
Okay.
But this picture right here, the middle right,
Mm,
that's what you're correct. That's what happens
yeah.
when you don't have those muscles. And these are all penalize and
Yes.
withhold. Now,
Absolutely.
if the cat had that head, and I do see a little bit of a chin there, so it might
Mm,
not
mm,
be wide, but it looks like it has depth. If
mm,
that cat had gloves and laces, of course I would use it.
right.
Um, I mean, Birman breeders, I just give them a lot of credit because we go through, I mean, back then, I think now with all of the tools that we have, Birman breeders, we don't have to settle for gloves and laces that look like this. We have
Mm,
that DNA test.
yeah,
So, a breeder who wants to preserve this breed, we don't need to
yeah,
bring another breed in to protect it, you know. We need to
mm,
study our pedigrees. Um,
mm,
I know there's a lot of breeders in the States, we're getting smaller, 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 but they're using
mm,
the same cats that are related. So you don't have any of the outcross, the vigor of a breed. You know, and they really need to open, we don't need other breeds. We just need other pedigrees and study your pedigrees like with any breed.
yes. No, absolutely. And just those points are just for me, the essence of the breed is so important. And these little things just take away from that entire look when you're judging the cat as a whole. So thank you so much for this excellent
Sure,
presentation.
sure.
I think that's super helpful. Thank you, Veronica, for those comments. Um, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to raise your hand. In the meantime, Lori, I just want to bring up the little temperament thing on Burmans. It's been a while since I pulled a Burman out that huffed and puffed on my judging table, but it used to be pretty common. You'd pull a Burman out and their chest is going like a bellow. They're just huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
Is that something that just has worked its way out of the breed?
You know, I know like 2 weeks ago I picked up a Birman kitten and he was just like huffing and puffing and hissing and he didn't know what he was doing. I mean, I just think they're just so airhead. But as judges, when we pick up something like that, we almost reward it. And I think they just get more bold. They don't, I don't, some, I mean, yes, some cats have bad attitudes. I'm not saying that. But the huff, I I don't know. I did have I had a whole Burman and a whole male that grew up together, and they were always loose in the house. And the Burman taught my Maine Coon how to huff. So
Oh
I,
no.
I don't know if it was, I mean, it wasn't a huff like for mean, but I don't know if it was just like a way of communicating. Um, but I discourage it. I've never had cats that were, you know, I don't know. I like my dumber than a box of rocks cats,
Hmm.
and a Burman shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I
well,
just,
I'm happy that I see it very rarely now because it can be intimidating, especially if it's a really large male and they're just
yeah,
puffing away on the table.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, this little kitten, yeah, he huffed at me and hissed at me, and I don't know if it was maybe one of his first shows. That could have been too.
Yeah.
Burmans are really sensitive to smells and
Mm.
maybe it was just, socialization. He didn't try to bite me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I won't put up with that in a Maine Coon, because
Yeah.
they're gentle giants. Um, Ragdolls, I don't put up with any kind of, hissing and spitting with ragdolls because they're ragdolls.
Mhm.
And Burman because it's my own breed and I know that they should be really sweet, Velcro. Um, yeah, not in my
Yeah.
ring.
We have a couple hands up. Alex,
Sure.
you were first. Go ahead.
Laurie, I kind of want to hear your opinion a little bit more of what Laura asked, but I will ask it in a bit of different way.
Mm-hmm.
I was taught when I was training that the only breed of cats that barks is a Burman, which is fair to call that half a bark because some breeds of dogs bark like that. It's like that low level kind of, you called it a half, but to me, it is a bark. And if you've never heard it, you're lucky because during my training session, there was a Burman who half, like you called the half, to me, it barked.
Mhm.
And I've never heard it. I was kind of shocked. And my judge who I was training with said, "Be careful. They do it 3 times. He will have first time to let you know. He will have second time is his patient runs out, and third time he's going to bite." And I laughed it off. We both laughed it off, and I never actually experienced too much of huffing until, as I said, in some areas of the world, Birman is super popular. And I believe it was in New Zealand where there was like literally Birman Club put up a show and there were like 35 in one class or something. And I was going through it and one Birman huffed pretty loudly and everyone stopped and kind of looked at me. And I said, oh, that is, be careful when it back. When I was carrying him back into the cage, he did a second huff. And when I put it back into his cage, in Australia, it's a cage he's staying in. So it's his smell and stuff. It was a male. He turned around, barked, and he didn't bite me because I was faster, but he did bite. There was a steward who was with me trying to close the cage. He did bite. And the owner came and said the same thing. He said, watch out for that third bark. And I was like, oh, so this is true. So have you ever experienced cats giving you a warning like that? Is it so? I've seen it once and I remembered that my training session. So are they warnings to you?
My no.
No.
It
Okay.
could be a coincidence, but mine. So anybody that huffs at my house, it was, like when you come home from work and you have all your purse and your briefcase, and then you just sit in the chair and you go,
Mm-hmm.
that is what I'm talking about. If
Okay.
this is a bark or a growl, no, I would not accept that from any cat. No Burman should be like that. They are Velcro, sweet expressions. We should not have that. Would you, as a ragdoll breeder, want that?
No, I was
Yeah.
putting it back right away. The first half I've heard, I was like, we're done. Go back. And he
Yep.
halved on the way back and he turned around and did a third half before attacking. An attack was pretty vicious.
Yes.
It was unhappy because you know a tense cat, you feel it, you try to judge it and you realize better not, right? Which is
Right.
good, fair warning. But it was funny that it was exactly what the judge told me. She said, "They bark three. You never want to hear the third half from the same cat."
I,
So it
you
was,
know, I also, how people say, like the tortoise shell, the tortitude and all that. I don't believe in that either because I had Burmans that were torties that were just sweet. I've had Maine Coons that were torties that were sweet. So if you want to excuse that behavior with those terms,
okay.
then, I wouldn't. I don't in any breed. Um, but if that has happened, maybe it's that breeder, maybe they're, just huffy cats or barking cats that, the household, maybe it's how they're kept or there's always constant um, just
They
like
just don't want to show. That is also a reason. Not
true.
everyone wants to show, right? And my
Right.
second question is, because it's color pointed cat in ragdolls, we often now see the difference between a point color between ears and a tail. And in one of your pictures originally, with a big poofy tail, you can see that the tail is much lighter than the ears. Technically, per UCD, it should be the same point color. Do you guys penalize? Because I do believe that it makes the cat look less striking. But do you guys, like, in your equality of points, do you take points away when tail is much lighter? And I know that
Well,
sometimes the hair is longer, so it kind of looks lighter, but very often it's literally washed out, right? You know
yeah.
what I'm talking about.
And another thing too is when you add a lynx point in there, it's even
Yeah.
more washed out. So
Yes, and Link's point
yes.
I forgive because the stripe can look it better or less, like because of the Link's point. But in the normal seal point Burman, you look at its face, it's dark, the ears wonderful. You turn the rear end, even
Let me
the around
see.
the laces, it's all fine, and then the tail is like someone stuck it into bleach. You know
You
what I
know,
call?
yeah, like now here's two pictures where you can see a seal point. His tail is dark, but yes. Um,
There was another, I think, where the cat stood with like a tail up with a kind of like a question mark or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
that
one.
one on the left.
Hmm. In this case, I believe that this is a female. I'm not really sure because I was sent this picture and I don't remember if she told me that this was a female. I don't know, because color is worth 10 points, the breeders are saying that color is really important. But when you look in the description for the Birman, it just says that they're pointed in all colors. And then it says that the color and point color are weighted equally when you evaluate them.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't give you,
But you see,
um,
it says that the point color should be like
Yeah, and
white
we
point.
would default to the UCD description in this
Yeah.
case. But yeah, the
Don't
standard
like
isn't stressing the matching point color.
no, not at all. And like I said, it's very hard to go and do this.
it's actually genetic. I believe it's genetic because I worked with ragdolls long enough to know you get washed out tails, they just keep going in that line, right? And if
Right. But you
right
see this cat, the bottom
Mhm,
left,
mhm.
this is a seal point, and he's lynx, but look how dark his tail is. So again, it's what the breeders are, they're putting forward to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it can be there, like the UCD says. It's worth 10 points if you want to take away 5, sure. I mean, as a breeder, unless there's white in it, I, you know, it doesn't matter to me because I've had seal, like my current seal male, he's a seal lynx point, and his body is just as dark as that tail. He's really darkened up. Can I show him? Sure. Do I want judges to see that? No.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't produce it. He is seal, so if I breed him to a blue girl or lilac, I'll clean up the body, But remember, the bodies aren't white, only the feet are white. So we can have that little golden mist is what they used to call it. But now that we've got all of these grooming supplies and different techniques, um, the colors. Let's see where you can see in this boy, he's an older male, but you can see his feet are white, and you can see some coloring in his body. But he's pretty light. He's pretty light.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he has very much golden mist across his back at all.
Nope, nope, he doesn't.
Yeah. That was a great conversation, great
Thank
discussion, Alex. We have Susanna with her hand raised. And Nikki, if you, I saw your hand was up, feel free to put it back up if you still have a question or comment.
Sure.
Go ahead, Susanna.
Hi, Laurie. I just wanted to go back to temperament because see if you agree with this. I mean, I tend to think that we underestimate at times the show hall environment, which is really not like being in our living room couch for the cats. I guess, I've been training a lot, and I think that a judge should base temperament on more than just a huff. And look, it took me 5 years to figure out, because I was told that British Shorthairs are not, big cuddly teddy bears and they can react quickly. So I have not seen this huffing, but I think I tend to base temperament more on, well, not more, but I consider the overall feel of the cat. And I especially do that when I have trainees, new judges, and I think they really need to learn that because I was bit by a Bengal when I was training, and I will never forget that. But I also think that at times we can add to aggravation by really wildly waving toys, which can bring out more. We're almost like taunting them if they're huffing or if they feel tense. What do you think? And what do you think about the importance of breed-specific nuances
I,
overall?
I, yeah, I totally agree with you because I don't like it when I have say I've got a tortie on the table and they're just any breed and they're
Mm,
just being nasty and right away the people say tortitude, tortitude. You know what? I mean that's okay if you want to accept that behavior. I do not.
mhm.
Um I just don't. And with the huffing, if it was my own cat, I would reprimand him. I would say no or do something, that showed something that was unpleasant. Because usually when you show a cat something that's unpleasant, they won't do it again. The show hall, yes. I mean, we're in expos with camels and goats. And I mean, any breed, how can you go and expose them to, what they're exposed to at a pet expo? I mean, I feel bad. And that's why I go back to my box of rocks because mine like, oh, okay. Oh man, a camel. Hey, that's cool. Mine are just like always, I don't know.
Okay, I don't know where you're judging, but I have yet to see a camel.
Yeah, it was a pet expo, I think in New Jersey. There were camels there.
Oh my God, okay.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, so
So
okay.
yes, yes. I mean, I don't want a cat afraid. If it's a kitten, oh man, I spend so much more time with a kitten, and I
Mhm.
won't put a toy there. I might scratch around the ear, do the
Right.
things and the petting that would be done at home to make them feel safe. And, a lot of owners don't use toys at home, unfortunately. They don't train their cats to be show cats. So you're right. When you go and throw a toy in their face, the cat's like, "What is that?" And then I smell the goat. I do believe that you're just building on, what's in their little brains, what they should fear.
I mean, I've had cats that come out and they are definitely tense and they get on the table and they're terrified. And
Yeah.
what I tend to do is just sit them down, calmly rub them, and start massaging. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it has worked. I
Yes.
just don't, yeah, okay, you've answered it. I'm rambling, so thank
No,
you so
I do the same thing. If a kitten is just, petrified. I mean,
much.
their legs go all, four different ways. And I will take that time to hold them to my chest, just to let them smell me, to let them, feel confident that I have them in my arms. They're safe and then gradually put them to the table, or vice versa, put them on the table and then, gather them back up just to give them a little bit of confidence, especially if it's a kitten. Um,
I guess really my point was that I think we underestimate at times that the show hall is not a natural environment. And,
Correct.
there's a lot of smells, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of screaming kids running up. There could be dogs, even camels, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's important to impart that on trainees because they are not used to it. And like I said, it took me 5 years with the British. But, I've had trainees where they get really scared and they don't know what to do. And I think we have to take some extra time and explain that, hey, this is perhaps not the cat, but the environment, all while incorporating the nuances of each breed. So thank you so much, Laurie.
I just want to add one thing. I will take time with a young kitten.
Hmm.
Okay, just to give it that little extra assurance. I might not go anywhere, but at least the experience coming out of the cage was a good one, and we're going to end on a good note.
Right,
I
right.
will not take that risk on a full-grown Maine Coon, alter, whole cat, household pet. No. If it's a kitten,
Hmm.
yes, but I'm not going to risk one, the cat getting loose or me getting bit.
Hmm.
I will not do that extra push the adult cat, alter or the adult household pet. I am not going to push them. Um, they're already telling me they're close to their limit.
Hmm.
With a kitten, I think it's a little bit different. And I'm not talking a 7-month-old kitten and, tomorrow they turn 8 months old. Of course, I would not risk that with an older kitten either, but the kittens. Um, that might be their first show that you do have to do a little bit more with them. But as a trainee, would I risk older whole males? No. Or
Hmm.
females. Mm-mm.
Hmm. Okay, thanks so much.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
Great discussion. So I think we're ready to wrap up. Does anyone have any final questions for Lori, comments about her presentation or the breed in general? Feel free to raise your hand. We'll call on you. No? All right. Well, Laurie, thank you so much for this deep
You're
dive into
welcome.
Birmans. I think you did an amazing job and give us a lot to think about.
Um, anything. I love the breed. So just love the breed. They're really cool cats.
And I think that came across in your presentation. Thanks.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody. I appreciate you attending.
And then if you are interested, Lori is going to do a little bit later today. She's going to be doing a judges school, which is going to include some role play. So it should be a lot of fun, very interactive. Hopefully, most of you can join us for that, and we can have a really great session together. All righty. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Lori,
Lori.
Lori,
Yes? Yes?
what time is the judging school going to be?
Um,
I
what
think
time did you
it's going
say?
to be in it. I think it's going to be 1 hour from now. I think it's at
It's 12:30 right now. I think you said 1:30. So in an hour.
yeah, one
Okay.
hour from now.
Okay, was there a link for that?
There's a separate Zoom link to register for it. It was
Oh,
posted on Facebook as well as emailed out to the IO groups.
okay, I somehow missed that one. All right.
It's going to be
Thank
a
you. I
lot
will
of
go look for
fun. I have role plays and I can't wait for you guys to role play because it's going to be
it.
so much fun.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Laurie. Thank you. I will read later.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming.